In which case that leads us on to our second question coming from Chris Broom, who I believe is also in attendance. Chris, would you like to ask a question? Thank you.
Thank you. This authority declared a climate emergency in 2019. Since then, the region has already gone through well over half the all-time carbon budget it set itself to address it. Meanwhile, the National Climate Change Committee has advised against airport expansion without a national capacity management framework being in place, which there isn't. The stated commitment to developing sustainable aviation fuel in South Yorkshire, whilst commendable, does not require the reopening of an airport to support it. With average global temperatures over the last year already 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels, will the board look seriously at the climate implications of reopening Doncaster Sheffield Airport? Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And it's worth saying I genuinely respect this question, so thank you very much for asking it. It's a question I've been asked a number of times, and I'll say what I've said previously, so forgive me if you've heard this before, but I think it does bear repeating. Look, I start in this space by saying that I absolutely believe, and I know colleagues around the table believe, that the climate breakdown is real and it is an existential threat, but it also provides us with a huge opportunity to transform our communities for the better and create that just transition, which I know you want to see, and clearly around this table we also want to see. South Yorkshire lost out when it came to the last energy transition, and colleagues around the table know that better than me, but we absolutely did lose out from that transition, and I'm determined that we are the forefront of that next energy transition, and that's why we've done so much work already on things like bringing in companies such as Holtec and others. We've got ITM Power in the region, we've got companies right across the region working on some of these new and sustainable fuel models, and sustainable aviation is clearly part of that as well. And yet at the same time, I have also made clear my commitment to reopen Doncaster Sheffield Airport and to create a thriving regional airport here in South Yorkshire. I don't actually agree with you on your point around the sustainable aviation space and the need for an airport in South Yorkshire. Actually, it is fundamentally important that we do reopen the airport in order to drive that growth of our sustainable aviation sector, and I am determined that we are world leading in that space, as we are already world leading when it comes to advanced manufacturing. It's the reason why Boeing are in the region. It is the reason why we are working with organisations like the University of Sheffield on sustainable aviation fuels, where they clearly have a first mover advantage. The business case for the airport recognises that reinstatement of aviation activity will inherently lead to air-based carbon emissions. Of course, it also recognises that there are mitigating factors, including the displacement of air traffic from other airports and the promotion of clean or low carbon aviation, and so that is important. It highlights other options such as demolition of the airfield and airport infrastructure, and the construction of new buildings would also have carbon implications. I have said from the beginning that more people flying from DSA does not mean more flights overall. I think clearly as a country, and we sit within a national system which we do not always control clearly, which has implications for us, but we do need to fly less overall, albeit whilst I think having a thriving regional airport in South Yorkshire with a world-leading sustainable aviation sector alongside it, and I am determined to do both of those things. My job as South Yorkshire's Mayor is to try and balance the competing opportunities and interests of our different communities, the things that we need to try and do, and the broader space in which we work, and that's what I'm trying to do in this space. I think there's huge opportunity for us here, and I think opportunity that you would support in terms of sustainable industries. Clearly, though, we also kind of want to open the airport, and I recognise and respect those people who think that that is not the right way forward, albeit I think it is. But thank you for your question. One final question then from Wyman Yao, not in attendance today, so the question will be read out, I believe, and then I will happily answer it.
Thank you, Chair. So the previous board noted that future funding beyond the next financial year is subject to the multi-year spending review settlement conducted by the Treasury for 2026 onwards. Within future settlements is a City Regional Sustainable Transport Settlement known as CRSTS. Is the CRSTS funding part of this review? Will the Mayor still be committed to the £30 million previously ring-fenced funding for Doncaster Sheffield Airport Station, or has progress with a preferred bidder or a potential clawback by the government changed the priorities? If so, what are these alternative plans for both the funding and the transport infrastructure for the airport?
Appreciate the question. So we are talking to government, as people would understand, about the CRSTS programme. Currently we understand that the government is committed to the CRSTS 1 programme, which is due to run up to 2027. that programme provides the MCA with 570 million of capital funding, of which 30 million pounds was earmarked to the Gateway East rail project. But that project has always been a retained scheme, which means that the Department for Transport retain control on the release of the funding and will subject the project to their own assurance processes. Colleagues may remember that I was trying to get the government to release that money to us in South Yorkshire, and the previous government did not allow us to do that. The conversations with the department have been ongoing, therefore, for some time with regards to that money and the interdependency with the wider South Yorkshire Airport City projects at Gateway East. Those conversations include considering how the money could be deployed if the site project did not proceed, which we obviously wanted to, and options for how the money could be spent beyond 2027 in the event that the site project did not proceed, but more time was needed to use those resources effectively. So we've been trying to kind of balance all of that. We clearly are committed to reopening Doncaster Sheffield Airport, and there's been huge progress recently, but we do need to talk to the government departments about how that money will be released in relation to the timetable that we are now working towards. The MCA and the department have committed to progressing those options in the new year when the business case for the South Yorkshire Airport City proceeds, and then have been brought to a conclusion. So that is the plan, absolutely. I've got no reason to believe that there shouldn't be that commitment to the airport and the £30 million. So thank you very much for the question.